Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a rustic gate. We're going to do some stonework and we'll have some wildflowers also. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for our live show, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask them and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so we're going to be using a 9x12 inch canvas today. This is the Pro Series linen canvas boards from Fredrix. Like them, and they've got a nice firm board inside, so they're archival and they store well. That's the main thing for me, because we do a lot of painting, so I need storage space. I'm going to be using a 12 bright, a 6 bright, and a 3/8 inch and 1/4 inch angle brush today. The brights are the Summit and Umbria series, and these ones in the red handles are the VelvetTouch line, all from Princeton. And then I've got some blenders. These will just be for texture. So it's just some sort of brush that gives you a little bit of texture. And then you're going to want a liner brush for some of the grasses, a liner brush, and I've also got a fan brush for some grasses. So whatever works for you. That's the number 2 select here, and the 2/0 script liner. I'm also going to have a small palette knife. If you've got a thin one, then we can get kind of into these rocks here, and we'll probably use that to do some of the texture on the rocks too. Go over our colors really quick. Got carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow medium, phthalo green yellow shade, Phthalo blue green shade. Not sure if we're going to need that one. Ultramarine blue, Dioxazine purple, and Quinacridone Magenta. Then I've got unbleached titanium and titanium white. And then this over here is the glazing medium, the golden glazing fluid. You're also going to want some sort of chalk to do your drawing, or do it on paper and trace it on with transfer paper. Something like that. So I'm not going to draw it on right now. I'm just going to kind of paint the background grass around the fence, and then we'll kind of draw in as we go on the fence. I've kind of already sort of just done a rough sketch of where the boundaries of the fence are, and then I'll draw it in when we get to that part. So I'm going to use my large brush and some of the phthalo green, get some of the titanium white, and I'm also going to get some unbleached titanium because that'll give us kind of a more neutral green, and that's obviously like really bright. So let's get some of these yellows here, both of the yellows. Those will make it more of a neutral and brighten it up a little bit too. The yellow oxide neutralizes it because it's got kind of a brownish tone. Adding a little bit of water, and when you add water, just dip the corner or the edge of the brush in. You don't want to dunk it in there. That way you can kind of control the amount of water that's going onto the thing. And then also you don't want to get so much water up here. I start out by dipping the entire brush in the water, but then I wring it off to the side. I hardly ever will just take it straight from here because it's dripping so much. There's just, it's going to drip all over your palette and things. So dunk it, get it good and worked into those bristles, and then kind of wipe it off to the side of the jar there, and that will help you control the water on your brush. You can see even just dunking it that one time, it's got drips rolling down the handle, and those drips will get on your canvas as you're working. You don't want that to happen. That one right there that just happened. See,
we got a color question.
Okay.
They wanted to know, can they use phthalo green blue shade instead of the yellow shade?
Sure, yeah, just add a little bit more yellow to it and it'll be just fine. Just fine. That's all it is. It's basically the same tone. It's the same, I think, chemical makeup. It's just got a little bit more blue in it.
Okay,
so added a little bit more white and a little bit more of the yellow here. What?
I say we won't tell their friends on them.
No. No points deducted.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm just going to go up here. We've actually got kind of a spot right in here that it lightens up, the sunlight's hitting it. So I'm just going to kind of work from there. I'm going over this fence in here. I'm not going to worry about it. Work my way back up into here quickly because I want these to meet and merge through here. And I'm doing my brush strokes vertically so that if I do get any kind of streaks that they'll just kind of look like they're part of that process. We're actually going to have some going side to side too. So get some of this, and I'm just doing very small brush strokes, kind of choppy, small brush strokes, because you're going to see these kind of in landscapes. You're going to see these, the farther away your grasses and things get, the more you'll see these kind of lines forming of the clumps of grass. They look like kind of lines almost as they get farther away. So there's really not a whole lot going on back here. It's all pretty much green. So that makes it really easy for us because we can just kind of plop that color on. We're not going to do too much detail on that part. I think I covered over part of my fence, but that's okay. We'll put it back in there later. Sorry. Cough there. Again, picking up from the corner, just a little bit of water. Get a little bit more white here, and I can just mix it right onto the canvas here. Pick up the white, go straight to the canvas. My paint's wet there, so I know it's gonna kind of be able to blend. And if it gets there, that's fine. I'm just going to continue to blend it out. This paint is still wet. So if it starts getting sticky or it's just not moving around for you, then just stop. Try to smooth it out as best you can. But the stickier that it gets, the more chances are you're going to have issues with the paint. Will start to get kind of like a stucco texture if you continue to blend over it and put more and more paint on there. It's just going to kind of ruin the texture of your paint, and it'll also give you or have the tendency to lift off. So if the paint that you're putting onto the canvas is more wet than the sticky paint that's underneath there that's starting to dry, what it'll do is start to it'll lift off the canvas, and then you'll end up with a bare spot that won't accept any more paint. So if you've ever had that happen, that's what's happening there. If you've painted at all with acrylics, you've probably had that happen because it's pretty common. And sometimes it just happens by accident because you don't realize that that paint has started to dry. So I'm just going through here and adding a little bit of yellow. And I can tell this is starting to get sticky because it's kind of not wanting to lay down there. So I'm just going to be real careful and go very lightly here because I don't want to lift off anything. Just kind of setting my brush down and sort of flicking it upward somewhat to get kind of a grass-like texture. Doesn't have to. Back here, it's not going to be grass. So don't do like grass clumps or anything like that in these distant fields. This is all kind of blurry, out of focus, and there's not going to be any detail way back here. Your eye's not going to pick up any, the individual blades of grass. It's just not going to happen. So, and if you do that, if you, do paint in, like super realistic detail way in this back part here, it's going to draw your eye to that, and it's not going to look realistic. It's going to kind of ruin the effect of the distance that we're trying to create here. So keep your stuff in the distance blurry and kind of less focused. And that's what happens with your eye. If you think about, or camera or whatever, if you're trying to take a photograph and it's way in the distance, it's going to be a lot less in focus than the stuff that's close up. And that's exactly what we want to do with our painting. Okay. So there we go. All right. So I'm just going to leave that. I added a little bit of brown there, just a little bit of brown to the green that we already had here, just to add a little bit of darkness to some of our grasses. And I'm going to add more grasses on top in this foreground, but I'm just going to let those set up and dry a little bit before I do much more. So I'm just going to grab some more of the green and yellows, both colors. The only difference between this green and the original green is just I added more yellow to it. So there's not a whole lot of difference between this more yellow green and the green that we started with. I just added a little bit more yellow. So, you know, just whatever colors work for you. You can put on multiple layers of grasses. The more colors, the better, I feel like. So now I'm going in with kind of a medium yellow green here for these foreground grasses. Just going to bring them up here. And we'll let those dry. Okay. And definitely I'm going to have to do some stuff with that grass right in there because it's not bright enough, but we'll just get to there in a minute. So I'm going to clean my brush out really well and spray this down, spray down my green here. And anytime you're mixing a color and you've thinned it out like this and it's got all these colors, you know, flattened out, they're going to dry a whole lot faster than the ones that are all bundled up over here, tucked into a small ball, you know. It's the air that is going to dry it out. So you've got more air exposed to this whole area here than you do in that little lump of paint. That's a little dollop of paint right there. So that's why if you see when I'm picking up my paint, I'm only pulling it from one side. I'm leaving this whole back side here untouched, undisturbed. That protects that paint underneath there, keeps air from getting into where it's at there, and keeps it from drying out as fast. So
right now it kind of looks like a green tornado.
This one?
No, you're painting. It looks like my rendition of a green tornado. Finished.
Okay. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Just in case you needed to know.
Yeah, I needed that in my head. Appreciate it. Okay. I'm going to go a little bit darker here. There we go. Burnt umber and black here. And I'm just going to use this as my base coat for my stones. And not worried about this so much as I'm just trying to kind of get the color on here. And I'm going to give this to Mark here in a minute and let him take it and dry it so that we've got a good dry background to work on here.
So you doing okay over there tonight, Pinto?
Doing okay, 10 speed.
And people before chat were like, hey, wait a minute, your picture's different.
Oh, Mark.
And your name is different.
What's your name now?
Well, my name is Mark 10 Speed.
Nice.
And the picture is the one that I used for the cow bonus video promo.
I didn't see that one.
Of course you did.
Oh, the cow one. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I'll show that here in a minute. We'll show while Mark's drying this off. Right. I'll show you what we did on Sunday for the bonus video. It actually was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one. Mm-hmm. It was fun painting.
And so while she's doing that, we'll explain the nickname. So it goes back to Angela commented that Adele was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And she didn't have a prenup, so her ex-husband, husband, whoever, was going to get a very large sum of money. And then I said, well, we didn't have a prenup either. But when we got married, the only two things we had in our names that was worth anything was a 10-speed bike and a Ford Pinto.
Yeah.
The 10-speed was mine, and the Pinto was Angela's. So
proud owner. Not really. I didn't have a choice when my parents picked it out. I was like, happy 16th. And I'm like,
It wasn't the Porsche.
Thank you. No, exactly.
Porsche, not Pinto.
Both start with P. They were close. It was close. Okay, I'm going to come down a little bit of an angle here. So in here, I think it needs to come up just a little bit. And then it kind of angles off. So yeah, that's the nickname. That's our new band name. If we ever did take up musical instruments, which neither of us are musically inclined, so that's probably not going to happen, but we like to pretend that maybe it might happen someday and come up with band names for ourselves. So that's our new band name.
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad at the air guitar, so
I can sing in my I thought I was a good singer for a while until I had my friend that was a music teacher come over and play karaoke with us, and she was being very politic about how she's like, yeah, you have good rhythm. Then I realized I probably don't sing very well. I totally would have been one of those people on American Idol being like, oh, what? I sing so well.
Exactly. I know.
I understand. You obviously don't know what you're talking about.
I sing extremely well.
No, neither one. Like I said, we like to pretend that we would someday. All right, I brought that up a little bit. Okay, I think that's probably going to be good. It's definitely crooked a little bit, but I think it's not as crooked as it looks because of the angle here. It makes it look more crooked than it is. It's actually pretty straight when you look at it straight on. So, all right, I'm going to give that to you. Let you clean or clean it. No, dry it off for me and clean off my brush real quick. That's what I was thinking in my head. So, hey guys, hope you're doing well today. It's Tuesday. We're looking forward to starting some fall paintings. So Saturday we're going to be back. We took Saturday off this week, or last week, but we're back this Saturday. We're going to be painting some leaves and a coffee mug. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to painting that one. I'll show you what we painted on Sunday for our Patreon folks. So this was the $5 level on Patreon. It's $5 a month. So they charge on the first of the month. So if you signed up today, you get it charged again on September 1st. So just know that going in, they charge every first of the month, and they also charge when you sign up, the day you sign up. So if you signed up today, it's $5, and then it would charge you again on September 1st. I don't control that. That's how Patreon does things. And I just use their website for offering some, this kind of stuff to folks as kind of a perk. In case you want some extra content, we do these longer videos. So this one was about 4 hours, a little over 4 hours on Sunday that we painted. We've got a ton of probably, I don't even know how many bonus videos we have now, but at least probably 24, I would think. We've been on Patreon for 3 years now, and we do one bonus video a month. For a while there, we were letting the videos go public, so I'm not sure exactly how many of those went public before we stopped doing that. I think it was almost a year. So I know we've got at least 24, I think, of these $5 level bonus videos. And then for the $10 level, you also get, this is where we're working on this, and we're going to finish this on Thursday. It's going to have bougainvillea and some vines and flowers and all. It doesn't look like much yet, but anyhow, so if you're interested in that, if you are like, I need more painting from besides the 400 free videos that we have on YouTube, we've got extra bonus videos for those who are kind of interested in taking it to the next level. But yeah, so that was fun. I enjoyed this. And we're going to do a whole series of these kind of funny animals videos in future. So, okay. So I'm just going to use just chalk here. This should be dry enough, I think. and we're going to draw in our fence. So I'm looking at the reference photo, and I'm just going to hold up my chalk and get that angle and then bring it down here. So that's the angle of our fence posts, right? Of our slats in the fence. Now, I can't really paint those in yet all the way because I've got this grass that I need to do, but yeah, so I'm going to wait on that. So I don't know why I just did that because I'm not going to need it right yet. But we need to do these. We'll do this. So this is our fence post here. Just want to make sure that I'm getting this in the right spot. So that's there. And a little bit more of it showing on this side as the corner is facing us. But the top of it is almost flat because it's almost even with us. So we're just seeing that kind of corner piece. And we're seeing almost equal parts of that fence. So it's about even on both sides all the way down. And then out here is the corner of our rock fence. So these are pretty close to even. They might slightly slant upward as they go down here. And they're all different sizes. And then there's the edge there. It's not really a straight line. It's just kind of these stones continue around that corner. But kind of like that. And they're going to do this kind of upward and then they go down. They sort of meander down this way. I'm not going to really worry too much about the lines right now. I just kind of want to get a sense of where the stones are laying so that I get these top stones in the right place. So this one is right here and that corner is right about the same spot as that one. And again, the top part we're not seeing because it's almost even with us. Excuse me. Another stone somewhere in here, and then another one here that's breaking off there and up in there. So that's kind of our line of stones here, and then these ones kind of go down, curve down, and back up a little bit. So just trying to get kind of the angle of those stacks. Very lightly drawing with the chalk. Okay, so there's kind of our stone wall there. Looks like it's leaning, doesn't it? And that's because this looks like it's tilted. Okay, so I might have to loosen it out a little bit, but there's that edge of that, and then this one has got a stone top right here. It's going like that. The top of that should be pretty much even with the top of this. I might bring this up just a little bit right there. And this angle here should be the same as this angle. So whatever angle is here, it should continue from this stone to this stone, the top of this to the top of this. So all of these lines here are going to be the same ish. And there's a vanishing point out here, but it's so far away out that way that we're really seeing these as parallel lines. So you can be a line there, line here, 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 and here. So this will be the top of our fence there, somewhere in there. And then again, these lines here, these stones are going to be, these ones are pretty even with us. And there's some bigger ones that are fitted in there. So something like in there. Okay. So I think that's good. I'm going to get my ruler out just to make sure, because it keeps looking like it's tilted and I don't really know why. So I'm just going to get that ruler out and see. Okay, so that's coming out just a little bit there.
Somebody asked, why don't you use a ruler?
And there we go. So that one does need to come out a little better or go in right there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that out.
I said you didn't believe in math or science, so the tools of such are wicked.
Yes, yeah. Okay, well. Okay.
No, not really.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's our corrected lines here. Here we go. Okay, see, it still looks like it's crooked though. It's just the angle of the camera, so I'm just gonna have to trust that it's correct. And I will use a ruler once we get to doing the fence posts and stuff, or the slats and things. I just find that it's easier, faster. I did watch a plein air painter the other day, and they were using their another brush, and they were doing along the brush. I thought that was kind of clever. So even though these brushes are kind of angled, so you'd have to probably find one that had a really good long straight edge, longer handled one for it to work. But anyway, I'm trying to learn watercolor, or at least I watch other painters do watercolor because I'm fascinated with it, but I don't do it enough to be confident in it yet. Maybe one day I'll start teaching it if I learn enough, paint enough. I bought all the tools, and then I've painted like twice with all the stuff that I've accumulated. I have all the trappings of a watercolor artist, but I can tell you that you don't learn a whole lot if you don't actually do it. So I would encourage you, if you're wanting to learn to paint, that you get in there and just do it. Just do it. Probably not going to turn out all that great at first, but it's worth it. Can't get better at it unless you try, right? Okay, so I'm just kind of unifying this whole area here by adding more of these yellows, yellow, white, yellow, green, just various levels of green there. Just want a little patch of this in here that looks like it's getting some sun. And then there's another patch going to be right in front of it that's going to be darker, but I'm not going to put that in yet. I'm going to put my fence in first and then put those little grasses in that are lit up. Okay, so I'm going to run through here. Oops, there's a dog. You can hear the dog bark, and then he can hear me talking. That's the problem. And then Spencer going, shh. I think it just encourages him to bark more. But my mom's in there. She needs me. Right. Burnt umber, burnt sienna, phthalo green here, and a little bit of yellow. What?
Some of your black and white paintings you did from black and white photos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What?
Well, just somebody had asked if you had painted from a black and white photo.
Oh, yeah.
And I like those flowers you did.
Yeah. I've taken photos and made them black and white to do in black and white too. I can do, or I've painted from photos that were done in black and white too. Both, yes. We did the elephant recently in black and white. The elephant and the baby, mama. Actually did an elephant on its own, and then the elephant. So we've not actually done a full color elephant yet. We've done both elephant paintings in black and white. They lend themselves to it really well. All right, so darkening up that upper area there just to kind of do that. And then I'm just going to kind of give a few little areas here. I'm just tapping. You can see how my brush is separated. If you tap down on it, or, as I was painting, it was tapping down, you'll get them kind of separated, and then you can kind of get this sort of texture like. This is probably too thick of an area there, so I'm probably going to add some lighter color over it, but just going to go ahead and continue with this, and it's doing a pretty good job for me. Just adding a little texture. As I get down here, I'm going to do little larger areas. And we're going to do bigger areas with grass with our fan brush, but for now, I'm just going to be kind of using this to get some texture in these far distant areas here. So setting my brush down and just barely flicking it upward. And see how I can kind of obscure that, blend it in a little bit, soften it up by going over it with the lighter color once I get it on there.
Somebody would like to know if they could use a fan brush for this.
Absolutely. Yep. You sure could. That would work great. Yours ever works for you. Gives you the results that you like. I'm just showing one way of doing it. This is by far not the only way or the best way, maybe. Just the way I'm doing it today. There's a lot of different ways that you could get the same kind of effect. Okay, again, doing it kind of lines here, trying to keep that feel of the fields going side to side here. I'm going to get a little bit of the darker, brighter green here. Maybe a little bit of yellow with it. Go. These far ones here are going to be much less obvious than these closer ones. So even as we go out here, as we get closer, we can kind of give it a little bit more flick to the wrist as we're putting these on. But again, these ones back here are going to be real blurry, far away, distant. So don't go too much detail with these. I think that's pretty good. I'm kind of blurring these out because they're kind of real harsh almost. Just kind of going back over them with a little bit of color. There we go, softening it up. Very good. I think it's ending up a lot more green than is in the photograph, so I'm going to get a little bit more yellow, yellow oxide, yellow, cadmium yellow. Going to go through here with some of that. And again, make sure you're going right up to that edge so that we don't have like a halo of color around it. There we go. Go for a little bit brighter green right here in the middle. Again, just lots of layers. Okay, I think that's probably going to be good. I'm not really going to go for a lot of detail back there. Start a little bit of that darker color right in front here. Just a little hint of it. Where we're going to be putting that. Okay. Let's get the fan brush. And I'm going to get a little bit, whoops, got the wrong brush there. Get a little bit of that white and some of that yellow. Going to get a little bit of glaze because I'm using so much water here. I don't want it to underbind my canvas. I want it to stick really well. So that glaze just kind of helps it stick. It adds that more medium back into my paint. If I can't see it, then it's not light enough. So add more white. And I want it to be kind of a milk consistency. It needs to be thin enough that I can kind of run through and see the canvas a little bit through it. I don't want it to be super transparent, but it needs to have some transparency or thinness. Really, it's the thinness that I'm after. Okay. There we go.
You spoke too quick. I couldn't get my joke out in time.
What'd you?
You said you couldn't see it. I was going to say, well, maybe it has its eyes closed.
So silly.
I know, I try to be. There's a real question.
Okay.
Person would like to know, what does underbind mean?
Underbinding is when your paint doesn't bind to the canvas properly. And what happens is, like, if you go back over an area that's not properly bound to the canvas, it'll lift off the canvas. And that happens if your paint is the heavy duty, or what you're on dog duty. These heavy body acrylics that I'm using are more pigmented than some of the cheaper craft acrylics that you might use. So there's less of the binder, more pigment, and that means they're more prone to underbinding. So you just have to kind of be aware of that. If you're using craft acrylics, you don't have to worry about it. Like, the cheaper acrylics, even the student body acrylics have more binder in them than the heavy body acrylics. There's less pigment, more binder. The more pigment, the higher the price. The better the quality, the more vibrant the colors a lot of times. But it can be, the downside is, that they can be tricky to layer if you're adding too much water. So just, if you know that going in, then you can just add a little bit of glazing medium or something. I'm adding just browns and light colors here just to kind of get these grasses to layer there. I'm getting these lines. So what I'm wanting to do when I'm seeing these lines is just kind of break it up with another layer of color over the top. So. I think my colors are getting a little muddy through here. I've got a lot of color all in one spot, and there's not a lot of depth there, so I need to add a little bit of the darker toned paint back in. That green was a little bit thicker. You can see how it doesn't do very well when it's thicker paints. They don't create the thinner. What are you laughing about?
It's for things.
It's Mama. Got the cutest picture of him waiting. He was just investigating. You want to come say hi? Here, buddy. Come here, say hi. Come here, say hi. Oh my goodness, lots of loves. Thank you, thank you. This is our new puppy. He's 4 months old and crazy, wild. He's licking me everywhere. Okay. Oh, I know, but I gotta kiss her. And I gotta bite on everything. And oh, ow, ow. Okay, look at that face. So cute. Ow. Okay. We're working on the biting. He doesn't quite get it yet. It's like everything goes in the mouth. It's just like a child. This is my Howie from today. Evidence of the dog attack. All right. I'm not 100% happy with that. I think I'm just going to fix it with a brush later. This I think a stiffer bristled fan brush might have been better for this little area here. It's just so small. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush here and just do some of these. There we go. Smaller little bits of grass and highlighted areas there. So grasses grow in clumps. You know, they grow up out of like a single area and then they kind of spread. So you'll see like an area right here where they'll just kind of do like this, where they kind of go all out of one little central thing. So when I'm doing these, I kind of like to pick a spot and just kind of do several sort of in different directions out of that general area and spread them out. Seems to work pretty well. What are you laughing at? Somebody crazy over there?
Cashmere just came in.
Uh-oh.
And then saw the dog and turned around and said, nope. And walked back out.
Cashmere's like, oh, I got a whole can of nope on that right here. Whole bag of nopes. Yeah, she's not. I kind of hoped the other day that she had started warming up to him, but she was not having him at all yesterday. She's just our cat, who is very old and set in her ways. She's just not liking having a puppy around. Which kind of thought would happen, but wasn't sure. Kind of had hopes that maybe she would get over it, but she hasn't. It's not. She's not happy with us. All right. I've got just the yellow, the cadmium yellow medium and the phthalo green, most of the yellow. So I want a really bright area, and I'm just going to kind of put this in here. I'm really kind of just glazing it in here. I want to do some bright spots and kind of trying to wiggle it in here so it's not a solid area, but that's going to help kind of give me more of that bright yellow color that I'm looking for in that grass. Are you snapping at me or him? Okay. Just trying to get my attention. Is that something? What? Ah, okay. That's a little clump that I liked right there. Okay. So that's good. I think I'm liking that more bright green color. I'm going to add some of it down here. Just use what's left on my brush. Brush it off. Down here. That's much better, brighter, prettier green. This is way dark though. If you look at my, compared to the reference photo, we've got a lot darker greens here going on. Add some white here. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with that other, with the larger brush, and just brush in some lighter greens through here. There we go. I have some lighter greens here is going to help. And then definitely way back in here. I'm just going to wipe most of that out of my brush and just sort of dry brush some of this green. Just using very little paint here. The paint's kind of wet, so it's smushing around. Just adding it in areas back here. Go. A little bit more. Okay. Just go ahead and start on the fence. So I'm going to use this brush here. This is the Willow Blender 3/8 inch. And I'm going to mix up some yellow oxide with that unbleached titanium. A little bit of the green. I see a little bit of green in this. You know, it's kind of mossy. Maybe. And then get some brown, burnt umber here. Maybe a little bit of ultramarine blue. That'll turn it kind of grayed. And then get some white. And I've still got that yellow in my brush, so it's influencing it. And I'm just going to kind of tap through these. Get a bunch of those colors on my brush here and just start tapping in some texture on the stones. Leaving some of that dark color. Now, if you're getting a really obvious repeat pattern on here, then you'll want to change it up or, you know, kind of turn your brush or something like that. Got some lichen growing here. Hi, Fitz. What you doing, puppies? What you doing? You just want to avoid like obvious patterns in the stones. Give me some yellow color. Not too worried about my borders because what we're going to do is overlap these colors with other. I'm going to bring this stone up a little bit. Let's get some burnt sienna here too and do some burnt sienna. get some lighter color, almost white at the very top here where the sunlight's hitting it. So I'm going to really highlight that top area quite a bit. Okay. Highlighting that side of the rocks that are kind of sticking out a little bit, getting a little bit of sunlight on that side. Do you go into puppy jail?
Yep.
Spent a lot of time in puppy jail today. Got like a little fenced in area of our living room that's just for him. It's kind of time out. It's amazing. Okay, so I'm taking a little bit more time with these ones up here just because they're kind of our, focal point up here, sort of. I'll bring this one up just a little bit more. And this actually comes out a little bit this way. Okay. Has more of the darker. I'm going to get a little bit of black and the burnt umber just by themselves. Do a little bit. Very little color on my brush here. I'm just tapping. Okay. Mm-hmm. Getting some of that lighter color and use that on the top of this rock here. This whole top. Very light. Reinforce this one. Just going to pull in it a little bit. Go. Okay. I'm just going to tap some randomness into these tones down here. I could use a larger brush too. You could use a sponge even. And this is just our initial color. We're going to add more detailed color once we get our rocks kind of set in where they're going to be. I'm going to bring this out just a little bit in a couple places. Just going to overlap the wood, so I need to do that wood first. So I'm going to go ahead and use this color here, maybe get a little bit of the lighter color, and just highlight the top of that and just use this brush to draw down some wood grain into this. A little bit of that. Maybe get a little bit of the lighter color, the yellow, I mean. Okay. I'm going to go back in with some of the darker color and kind of add some little knots and green. Okay, let's do the same thing over here in these. Sounds so pitiful in the other room. A little bit darker right on that one side. And I'm going to get a little bit of this highlight color and highlight this top section that's right there. Okay. I think I will use the sponge on this since it's such a large area over here. Tap in some other colors here. Yellow. Okay, and where it went over the wood there, I'm just going to wipe that part off. Make sure my wood's dry, obviously. You could even tape it off if you weren't worried about it. That looks pretty good. And then I can get down into these little areas here that are right up next to that wood with my smaller brush. Okay. All right, and we're going to have the posts on the inside of this for this is the post this gate is attached to, but there's another post right here that is part of that post, that wood. And it's a little bit away from here. It's real close. Just gonna do it real light first. It's gonna go all the way down to about right here, and then this is gonna go across. This is a cross beam here. Remember that angle? It's like that. So I need to bring that down more here and up more there. There. And this is actually, now that I'm looking at it, actually, this hill comes over the top, so it actually goes down this. Disappears. Well, let me see. Now it's closer to here. I need to have drawn this in with chalk first. We're in here like that. So it's where this post goes down to, right here. Okay, that looks good. And we're right in there. Okay, and then got kind of a yellow, brown on the inside here that's a little bit smaller, a bit more narrow. All this can be done with a ruler to keep you straight. You know, hon. Mark is not much having much fun with puppy duty right now. The dog is barking. So there's just going to add some wood detail back here. There's something there that's kind of attaching those together. It's back there. Just dry brushing on some of this highlighted color here. These posts here will be vertical, so all of these lines here should be vertical, and the angles are attached to them. So I'm going to go do the bottom and the top one, and then there'll be one in the middle, and then two more. So that'll help me get them arranged evenly if I do them that way. See, now that tells me that that paint wasn't all that bound. It probably didn't have enough of the binder in there because when I put paint on top and then wiped it off, it lifted, even though that paint was dry. So that's what underbinding looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna do that a little bit darker. These slats are darker. I'm gonna get a little bit of blue here, add that to it too. So there, and then I haven't done the top of this yet, but I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna figure out where this is gonna be. This is my angle. Let's go ahead and draw them in. That way we won't have to guess later. I can adjust it. So I'm thinking right in here somewhere. And then the middle here. And then another one here. Here. Put that one up just a little bit. Okay, so there's our gates. That's where our wood slat's going to be. These are going to go on top of this part of that post. The first section. Burnt umber, little ultramarine blue. You having your dinner?
Just some bread.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to talk for me while I'm eating?
I'll turn down your mic for you.
We can get that one very straight. If I catch it while it's wet, I can wipe it off. And if my green underneath was dry, it won't wipe it off with it. That was borderline. It's almost dry. There we go. Use this ruler so that I can lay it flat. Lost my chalk lines. Just rough those up again. Okay. I'm going to look at this space here and make sure that this looks right. Then I'll know that I've got this lined up right here. There we go. And if I have my brush about the width that it's supposed to be, then it makes it a little bit easier because I can just press down. And voila.
WALA?
Voila, with a V. Doing it the fancy way tonight.
Oh, so this is a French painting.
Very all proper. Pet peeves. There is no W in voila.
Not even if you're from the south of France?
I don't know. From the south of the U.S., maybe. Okay, here we go. And one more. Okay. That one, I don't know what happened there. Got a little off. Okay. Fix them. Okay. Use the darker color to kind of paint in this dark back here. I didn't really do a very good job of these, but just kind of doing some random something there. I'm going to do some darker browns. Here on this part of the wood. A little bit in that space there. I don't know why I do this to myself. I really don't like these kind of geometric type paintings where I have to be real careful like this. I really don't. But I'll get to paint flowers later, so it'll all be worth it.
I mean, it's an old fence, so you can make it as wobbly as you want to.
That's true.
I mean, you did have a blue cow for a while on Sunday.
I did. I kind of wish I'd left him a little bit more blue than he ended up.
Me too, but
he looked pretty cool.
That's just me.
Yeah, he's neat being blue.
Yeah.
Did my underpainting on the cow blue.
And it's a she.
Is she? Sorry. Yes, she was blue. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna switch to this 1/4 inch stippler here. I'm gonna get some color. Just drag it across this wood, give it a little bit of color. If it's dark, you can put the lighter color. If it's light, you can put a darker color. I'm just using kind of the yellows and browns, whatever seems right to you. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine. Getting some burnt umber here. Just want it dark where it's attaching to the post there. I'll just make sure that area is dark. I have to be careful with these ones that I just painted because they're wanting to, the paint's just scraping off instead of just because they're fresh. Freshly painted. Okay. There we go. And get some of that darker color here. The burnt umber mixture right there. Okay. Oh, it's got my cross beam. I need my cross one. Forgot all about it. Okay, so that one's gonna go from right here to gonna leave room for it here. About that wide.
How many rulers do you have over there?
I've got a few. I've got one that's kind of a sewing one that's clear. I've got
Like 3 or 4 rulers all together.
there's 4.
For someone who pretty much never uses them, that's a lot of rulers.
I use them. I have them when I need them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all the units are in finger lengths and widths. Okay, I see that. We need to make those rulers and sell them.
Finger lengths. Well, why do you think it's called a foot? I'm sure that it was somebody used it at some point.
No, somebody saw the ruler on the ground and then noticed that the thing that they were walking on was the same length. I said, oh, well, that's a foot. People thought it was the other way around.
I think so. Okay. I'll take your word for it. add some texture to this, knowing that it's probably going to be too light. And we'll add the darker color a bit when we glaze. Glazing, if you're new to it, is going to be your new best friend. Makes everything a little bit better with acrylics. Just adds so much detail. Show you how to do it here in a little bit. We'll save it for later so you have to watch to the end. Or fast forward later if you're watching the replay. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna call that good enough. We'll let that dry. Let's go ahead and start working on putting some detail in our rocks here. So I'm gonna get the black and some of the burnt umber, mostly black here. And some of my glazing medium. And I'm just going to start to define these rock edge borders. So I'm going to use the tip of my brush here and just draw out kind of where these rocks live. And I'm just going to rub out the harsh edges if there are any that don't look right. Okay, so right in here, I've got this post. All right, I said I was going to wait to the end, but I'm going to glaze right now. So there you go.
So this is the end?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right, so getting the glazing medium, mostly glazing medium, and some watered down paint here. And we're just going to go over the top of our paints. We already kind of did it in the grass when we added the yellow to the grass. So we're just defining this area there. That's the darker side of the stone. So it's facing away from the sun. The sun's coming from this direction. So this is all in shadow right here. And we've got a shadow in there that we've got on that. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of the black with some glaze. This should be dry now, so I'm going to go around these where they go into the, and just underneath just a little bit. So just around where they attach to that post and right up underneath a little bit. Pull it down slightly. There. Then you can kind of define the bottom of these if we need to darken them up a little bit. Add some lines of dark into our posts. Gonna get some my highlight color. This is the Unbleached Titanium. I'm just gonna clean up this edge because I got it kind of messy a little bit right there. And then I'm gonna take it and it's got brown and stuff in it here. A bit of brown. Mostly the Unbleached Titanium. And I'm going to put a top section to this post. So it goes right up over the top. Right here, it's catching the light. Not on all of them, and the top one's the most noticeable one. There's a little bit of it's showing on almost all of these. Just a little bit of a highlight. Okay. And then use that little bit of a highlight too up at the top of this. Down a little bit right there, a little bit right here. A little bit of the sunlight's hitting it. Okay, let's go back to glazing the black. Okay, so just go and start our first zone separation here. And these are pretty wobbly. So sometimes I'm going to go a little bit thicker than other times. And sometimes I'm going to change up the width of the stones. There. Round out the tops of them a little bit because they're not perfectly square. I can use my finger to just kind of dab off if I get too much color somewhere. And I'm going to come up underneath this one and chip off some of the bottom of it. So just chip off little bits. It's not a straight line there. It's got rounded edges and things happening. Okay. This is really fun. You can just kind of let your mind go. And this is where it gets kind of relaxing for me. I enjoy doing this kind of thing because you can kind of, there's not really any set. It's not like over here where you got to, have it just so. You can kind of just let these stones sort of stack themselves however seems interesting to you. And this stone wall is definitely kind of all over the place, so just gonna have fun with it.
I was going to say, I let my mind go years ago. I didn't wait for this painting.
Well, then this would be perfect for you. You should try painting this.
Yoda wouldn't agree with that.
If you're new to our channel, my husband is not a painter.
I have a magnet right here that has that too that somebody sent me.
He is that you what?
A magnet that somebody sent me. Darlene sent me with a Yoda saying on it.
Oh yes, try. There is no do.
No.
There is no try.
There's do or do not.
Do or do not.
There is no try.
That's right. Love it. Yeah, we marked on the back of whoever sent us all our magnets last year. We had magnets from all over the world being sent in, so glad I marked them.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so just kind of adding some black here and there. This is going to look a little bit rough at first. So just kind of know this is not the last layer. We're just wanting to add the in-between so we know where to kind of focus our next layer of color and some of our detail. So anytime you're adding a lot of water, I want to add some of that glazing. And in this case, we're adding quite a bit of the glaze because we want it to be somewhat transparent, because in some of these areas where we're overlapping the, on top of the stones, I'm wanting to rub out some of the color. So this one is like right on the edge right there. It's kind of laid sort of like bricks, they've got kind of in between sections. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of tap in through the line all the way down. I'm not going to go by the picture anymore. I'm just going to kind of do my own thing here.
So I know you showed your bonus video picture earlier.
Yes.
But for all those who joined late, just want to remind everybody that also that we're on Patreon is the traceables.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and if I had somebody asking about how to print them, it depends on your printer. So it's really, traceables are based on the size of the canvas. So I use the canvas size as the size of the image, but the image size doesn't really matter. You can print it to whatever size you want. So it doesn't, that doesn't determine how big the print size is. You have to tell your printer to print it to whatever size you want. So if you're using a larger canvas, larger than, like 9 by 12, probably the max size that you could use with an 8 by 8.5 by 11 inch image, you're going to lose about an inch off either side, but it'd still be big, close enough that you could use it. You'll have to use a program like rasterbaiter.net or one of those that will size your print to whatever size you want. I've also, like, if I knew it was kind of an even sized crop, I've used I've just cropped it in half. Like when I did an 8 by 16 inch canvas, you can crop it 8 by 8 and print it on 2 8-inch squares and tape them together. That kind of thing. Okay, I need to come down a little bit so that it's obvious that that corner is different. Like that. These ones are. And the thing is, these are all going to be mostly covered up, so I'm going to go ahead and put them in, but I'm not going to worry too much about them. By the time they get down low here, it's not going to really show. Not much of them are going to show, so I'm going to do like a big one right here. Let's see. This one's really large right there. You can eat. It's not going to bother me if you eat, hon. I want your dinner to be cold. Got another hour at least, probably.
What?
Here.
Another hour?
Well, maybe not that long. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I am going to go get my food.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, great.
Yeah, out of snacks. Let's do a large one here, maybe a couple large ones. Go through here. See, that one broke off right there, maybe. You can see doing that texture ahead of time is really not going to have to do a whole lot to these. They're already looking pretty good. I'm rounding them off just by kind of taking off the corners so they're not like straight up and down here. So if you just chip off those corners or rounds those stones off a little bit, makes them look a little bit more natural. Okay, these ones are definitely going to be covered up. It's 90%, so.
Someone asked if you could use a palette knife for like the wood and other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think I'm probably going to use a palette knife maybe on a little bit of this stone. We'll see. Poor puppy. So abused. Puppy jail. Okay, and so a lot of these stones here are kind of definitely rounded off. So I'm just going to add back in between here. Cut off part of the edge there. And those ones are pretty much straight up and down. There's a little bit of, maybe a little bit of a slant this way, but not much. You can look at the natural, like you've already kind of got some dark and light areas on these stones. So you can look and see, you know, like right in here, there's kind of a dark area. So I think I'll go ahead and kind of go with that and put a line there. Let that be my split in that stone. You can do that on all the ones going down here. Maybe that one comes out here. Maybe there's a thin one. And these ones are catching a lot of light, so I'm going to go back in and highlight the front ends of all these, because even though I'm kind of doing this dark right here, they're actually pretty light on our photograph. So there we go. Okay, so now I can go back in. I'm going to go ahead and use just a little bit lighter color, like a little bit of the burnt umber, some blue. I like to use blue in my shadows. Ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and my glaze. And I'm going to just get the glaze mostly on the tip of the brush. That way I can control it a little bit better. Wipe off the back end of the brush there. Yeah, I'm just going to go back in here and go right up underneath those lines that I just did and shadow the bottom edge of these stones. Which you could, I kind of was doing that sort of when I was putting in my lines, but not as much as right here. So this will be more obvious. You can see how much darker those areas are. And then we'll go back in and we're going to highlight again on the top areas, and that will blend it all in for us. Well, that puppy is crying. Right, where's Spencer? Is he just eating his dinner? Yeah. And then again, we've already shadowed this once, but I'm going to go ahead and reinforce it again. A little bit darker this time. This will round out the bottom edges of these stones a little bit. It can be on the top edge too, but see how it kind of curved? It's just chipping off that edge just a little bit, softening up all these stone borders, stone edges. You can do it, like I said, on the top. Some of them might have a little shadow area on the top too, if one of the ones on top of it is hanging over a little bit more. So you can see the difference between the side that's done, maybe if it's zoomed in pretty tight. I can't really see both sides very well, but there. So you can see the difference between this side and this side. This side's just a little bit warmer, looks a little bit more rounded out. So we're just going to do the same thing over here. Too much color there. Okay. Go. All right. And not really. I mean, this actually looks pretty decent, but I'm going to go ahead and go back in with just a little bit of the yellow oxide and unbleached titanium. Maybe a little bit of the burnt umber to just kind of tone it slightly. And I'm just going to add little dabs of this here and there. I want to stay away from the black. I overlapped the black there. I didn't want to do that. There we go. Let's see, smaller brush will give us a little more control. Just a 1/4 inch one. So and I want to make sure that I'm keeping these pretty random. Might get a little bit of green, my yellow, white. And keep a paper towel there just to dab off anything that gets a little too obvious. Yep. Some light hitting some of these that are sticking out there. Probably, now looking back, thinking about it, I probably could have saved this, done the overlapping, or the outlining of the stones, and then save the glazing for after this step. So do this and then do the glazing of the in between, because that way it'll tone down some of these if they get a little too much. And then you can always go and do it again. So it's just kind of a back and forth, just depends on how much texture and detail you want on your rocks. These rocks are all highlighted along this edge, really bright. I'm starting with this kind of medium color, and then I'm going to go back in with some white even. This is where I could add my, I don't think I'm going to use the palette knife after all. I don't think I need to, but if you wanted to, you could use your palette knife here. And detail with the palette knife too.
Somebody said that they've just bought glazing medium. Is that what you're using right now?
I'm not using it right now, but yes, when I was using it before, when I was glazing, yes. And I was doing the dark color in between the stones, shadowing them. Okay, getting a little bit of the white. Yeah. Right there. Now, if you get them too bright, that's fine, because you can always glaze back over it, right? So we've got that option. I'm going to highlight some of these as they come around that corner a little bit. Okay. Okay. Guess I need to do the latch, don't I? So ultramarine blue, black, white. Here. I'm making a silvery gray. Latch there. And some dots where these bolts are there. Black underneath. And then some white. Shouldn't have done the posts on this one yet, so I'm just going to go over the bolt completely. Do white on the tip. Those bolts. And then there's this chain here too that's just gonna kind of indicate it. I'm not gonna paint it in real carefully. Okay. Let's do flowers and we'll be done. Oh, 2 hours. Wow.
Yeah. So that just happened. But it looks really, really good, honey.
Thanks.
And the painting is pretty nice too.
Ba-dum-bum.
Have you heard that one before?
Only a couple times. Never gets old.
Only like every show.
All right, using some of the Phthalo blue, Phthalo green. Got some yellow in here. Got a bright green. Just doing a different tone of green. That way it kind of we'll set off against this. I'm going to do over. So I need to remember this has to be kind of behind the gate there. These are kind of on a hill, so these are all kind of going and tipping in that direction there. Towards the sun. Going with a little bit lighter yellow here. And I've got a line here, so I've really got to add a lot of grass to cover that up. So I've got to have so much grass that you cannot see where that starts and the grass begins, because you don't want to have that line there, that straight line. So I'm really having to add a lot of grass here to cover that up. Anybody still watching? I know it's late for a Tuesday night. They all waited for the flowers, huh?
Yep.
They were staying for the flowers.
Do you want to know how many watching?
Sure.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Why? But
I don't know. Sometimes you
3 people?
Sometimes you say that you don't want to know. So
Well, is it over 300?
yes.
Okay, then I'm all right. That's a good night. If it's less than 300, then I know nobody likes it. That's pretty much the standard there. Anymore, at least.
Oh yeah, you're over 300.
Good. No, and you don't have to tell me because then I get nervous.
7 million. I don't know what's going on.
What?
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to watch tonight. The internet go down, and the only thing to watch is our show.
I think that bug we put in, the virus we put in everybody's computer, so no matter what they click on, they come to our show and work.
Goes straight to our show. That's great. I'm going to tone this down a little bit. That white was bugging me. So I'm just going back in with this kind of brown. Just tone it down a little bit. Add in a little bit of that black. I know, sorry. No, I said I was done with the fence, but...
False hope.
All right, here we go. I'm going to get the fan brush out and get serious about this. What is that angle? I don't know why I put out that kind of white, because I really do better if I have liquid. Get some fluid white. That'll speed it up because it's already thinned out. That is going way too thick. Okay. Might take all of that off because I do not like any of that. Yeah. There we go. That's working better. No, see, I don't want that. But I'm going to be putting stuff in front of it, so I'm not too worried about that. This side isn't going to... I guess we could put flowers over here too, right? I added the flowers myself, so it's not like I don't get to decide where I put them. This photo was just of the fence. There wasn't any flowers involved. And I was like, well, that ain't happening. I want to paint the fence, but I gotta have some flowers going on, or it's just not worth it. All right, using the edge of my brush here, just do some tall grasses, different directions. And then again, we've got this line here that we're seeing that we want to cover that up. So I'm going to get some of the darker green, bring it down, maybe even get some of the burnt umber at it, because some of these shadowed grasses back here that are in the dark, they are going to have these darker tones in these browns, dark browns, and even some purple. Let's go ahead and put a little purple in there. There we go. So we'll be covering up the front end of this. I'm not worried about that. I just want to cover that line of the fence there, so that if any of that shows between, that it's dark enough that it's like, okay, that's shadows back there. And I don't have a line of the fence showing up between my grasses. Okay. I can do the same dark over here. These are really sticky. You see how it's sticking? It's not even going anywhere because that paint's not thin enough. So I'm going to switch to a liner brush. The liner brush also has to be thinned, but it's I find it's easier to control myself. But use what works for you. If you've got a good fan brush, that fan brush there may not be the best one. I need to get them maybe a little bit. Another one. I need to get one in the VelvetTouch. I think it'll work a little bit better. All right, I'm going to use some white and some yellow. The yellow will brighten up that white and make the green look a little bit more natural. I'm going to go back over this and just do some front grasses. Here, break up that little line of, see how that now is going to be pushed back by this bright grass in front. I think that's all we're going to need right here. And I want to kind of cover the front end of it. So I'm just going to continue to do this until I get to the bottom of the canvas. And then I won't have any bottom of the grasses to worry about. So they'll all be kind of covered up. Get some kind of middle ground color, greens. Yeah. Not enough water. A bit of glaze. The key to this is just to get it, you don't want it transparent, so you just have to get, enough water that it's fluid, but not so much that it's transparent. It's kind of a tricky combination. You'll figure it out. Just practice. You can practice on paper too. Practicing on paper is a great way to kind of work on your skills without having to worry about using up a canvas for practice. So okay. I'm not 100% happy with that, but I'm just going to keep trying to get this done in a timely manner here. I've already taken way too much time. I like to do my Tuesdays on 2 hours or less, and pushing plus 2 hours here. Well over. It's different colors of grasses here, just kind of overlapping several layers. And I'm not going to worry too much about the front of this until I get some of the flowers in, and then we'll cover some of the front. This part here, kind of like we did over here already. All right, so let's get this brush. Angle 3/8 inch. Two, dab, dab, dab. Pretty high here. Do some more dab, dab, dabs. And widen it out. Let's go down. Let's go ahead and put one over here. Why not, right? Dab, dab, dab. We'll unify this whole side here to have them both both sides. Pick one of these tall grasses, do one there. There. And put them at different heights. So I've got 2, 2, 2. So I want to break that up. Maybe do 3, maybe do a third one here. Okay, so got an odd number. So let's do some stems for the Lycium. Is that what they are? I think they are Lycium. These big purple globe flowers. They've got pretty heavy stems. Maybe do one over here. Okay. Put that out, and I need to do the blue. So I'm going to get some of the green and blue, brown, do a dark green blue stem. These ones are pretty tall, so I'm just using this brush. If you flatten it out enough, it'll form these really tight, thin lines for you. So that's what I'm doing here. Just using the thin lines. Ooh, got a glob there. Didn't mean for that to happen, but that's all right. Just wipe it off. I don't hate that. That'll have flowers over the top, so it's not going to be a big deal. Okay. I love this color. It's pretty. Gotta put some blue over here too. Use the edge of this brush to do some small grasses down here. Okay. Wipe that out really well. And then I'm going to grab the Ultramarine Blue and some of the Phthalo Blue. And I'm going to set the tip down. Just plop it down and kind of pull up a little bit. For these kind of trumpet-like flowers, I can set it down and kind of pull down, maybe. Be better. There we go. You want to zoom in? There we go. Okay. So set it down, pull down. Create these trumpet-like flower shapes. Try not to go over the top of these yellow ones, but if it happens, that's fine. I can fix them later. Okay. Get some purple and add that to that blue. Ooh, got some yellow in there too now. Yellow in there. Ultramarine purple. White. Go over the same areas. Touch the tops. So we're going to have 3 colors. We're going to have this mid-tone. The dark tone was the first. This is our mid-tone, a little bit lighter. And then we'll have the highlight on top, very top. Make sure you're touching it so that you're seeing a little bit of that dark underneath. I want to completely cover up all your dark. I'm going just above to the top, to the side a little bit with this. Okay. Go back in with my dark color, reinforcing that if I need to. And then I really filled this in more than the picture. If I get going, I can't stop. This is my problem with flowers. I tend to overdo.
I can't believe it.
I know, I do. I tend to do more than what's in the pictures every time.
Do you know what kind of flower that is?
It's no, I don't. I'm assuming this is somewhere, maybe it looks like someplace in Europe, you know, like these type of gates, you know, pretty common, I think, in Europe. So I would guess it's something. It doesn't look like larkspur, which is what, you know, or delphinium. Okay, so going to just swish around. Highlights on some of these. I really feel like I almost went too purple with them. Face down, just touching the tip of my brush down. That's all that's touching. You probably should have just stuck with the ultramarine blue and white instead of adding the purple. Okay, got these. A little bit of white. There we go. That's bright. Okay, then the yellow is the next. So I'm going to get that yellow and some of the unbleached titanium. See kind of a creamy yellow color. White. The centers of them are pretty dark, so I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of the yellow oxide and burnt sienna. Do kind of an orange. Start with that and go on either side of the stem. So we did the green already. So the yellow really plays well against that blue, doesn't it? Really brings out that blue. Okay, I like the different heights here. Bring this one down a little bit. And grab this yellow white here. I'm just going to dab a couple dots along the outside of some of these. Not trying to exactly paint them in. I'm just kind of trying to give the indication of that flower. Dots really go a long way with flowers. That's why I like to paint them. It's just little dots can really tell a whole story if you place them right. Okay. All right, let's get the purple and the Quinacridone Magenta. This is our purple flowers. There's a big one right here. And this is where you're going to want to cover over other flowers, so we'll wait for them to dry if you want. Just do like I'm doing. Go for it. Get this smaller round. Oh, man, I am like going so far over time. It's not even funny. Oh my gosh. Mark's gonna go straight from this to bed.
Plus, I'm charging time and a half.
I'm not joking. It really is. At least now you're working from home, so I get to see you. I always felt bad when this happened, and like you came from Little Rock, and he's been working all day, and then he has to come work for me.
Oh, you can still feel bad.
I do.
I'll try to make you feel as guilty as possible. You need to get something out of this.
You really are too nice about it. Okay, so going over it with the kind of a lighter color. This obviously needs one more layer at least. These aren't too bright, but
Hey, I'm right here.
I'm talking about you, honey, the flowers.
Okay. That's like blaming the dog, right?
Gonna set the brush down, tip first down, and just flick it upward. Create some little tufts of highlight. Kind of leaving the bottom half alone, just highlighting the top edges. Yeah, this is working, I think. Ish. Ideally, I will wait for these to dry in between layers because they're picking up a little bit of the under layers this way, but still doing okay.
What did you mix up to get that pinkish purple color?
Quinacridone Magenta, sorry. Yeah, I did mention it. Quinacridone Magenta. And white. And pretty much just those two colors. I still had the purple in my brush, but I didn't clean it out completely, but there wasn't much in there. All right. I'm going to, let's go ahead and stick with this brush. I'm going to get some of this dark green because I really like the color. Thin it out a little bit. And this is where make sure everything has a stem. Kind of used the stems from before here, so I think I'm okay. Most of these, but I want to make sure I've got stems to all these bigger flowers there. Okay, and then there are some smaller flowers and things down in here, so we can just kind of do some small leafy things, kind of break up that line at the bottom of the plants. And then I'm going to use this. Actually, let's use that blender here. I'm going to get the yellow, my green, make a bright yellow green, and just pull up. Through here. And I am running out of space on my palette here. This is short grasses. We're probably going to need to go in and do some, obvious grasses here in a minute, but this is just to kind of fill in this area a little bit, hide some of what's been going on there at the bottom of those edges. And there's kind of shorter grasses that are growing along here, like it's been mowed or something, you know, in here. And then these ones have been left to grow wilder and longer up and around the fence. So that's what we're doing here. Just kind of doing the little shorter napped grasses down here. Maybe the cows have eaten all of them. You know what? The cows probably would have eaten all these pretty flowers too. Maybe that's why they weren't in the picture. Ooh, that's smarter too. It's a thin, very thin, small grasses, white thin grasses. This one kind of got too much water in it. Okay, that whole, come on. There we go. If you go up over your colors a little bit, that really help kind of push them back, make them look like part of the scenery. Okay. We are almost there. Let's do these little white grasses down. Do some on top of these. Okay, pretty happy with how this is going here. Get some darker green. Remember the clump idea, so kind of start here, do like different directions there, and then just kind of moving my way down. Start up high where I want to overlap some of the grasses that are already there. Okay, well, I did a really long one there. I don't really want it that long. These ones in front to be a little shorter because these are supposed to be the short grass up in here. These ones back here could be long, but as I get down here toward the bottom, I want to keep them short. I don't want that area to be kind of a shaded. So you could go in, like if it got too bright or you got too much bright colors in there, you could always go in and glaze over a section of the grass to shadow it. And I've done that before, and it really works well, especially if you've got some highlighted grasses in there. And then when you glaze over them, they, they fall back and look like there in the shade. But you've got some good I don't know what I was trying to say. Good depth, because you've got the highlighted areas in there. It doesn't look like a big blob of dark that way if you do it that way. Just working my way down. I'm gonna switch back to this smaller brush here for the shorter grasses.
So what brush were you just using before this one?
The script liner. This just does better on these shorten out grasses, I think. And then go back in and highlight just a few of them.
So I noticed that you dipped that liner brush into the paint, and then as you pulled it away, you spun it.
Yes.
And drug it.
Yes.
To kind of bring it to a point.
Brings it to a point, yes. Thank you. I forget I do that stuff and then don't realize I'm
You do it automatically.
explaining it.
The camera doesn't pick it up too well.
Yes. Yes. If you spin it, it comes to a point for you. If you don't do that, then it'll flatten it out a little bit when you pick up new paint.
So if your loved one is just rambling along, just spin them. Maybe they'll come to the point.
Or like me, painting too long and spin me around in my chair. Okay, I think just trying to kind of break up the grasses here. I think we're pretty good. Got lots of going in here. It's let me do one other thing here. I noticed the black with these to outline bottoms of these. I had already done those, but I had done up there. And then I can, now that this is mostly dry, I can get a little bit more of that magenta and white. If I can get some fresh white here. And just dabbing, and I don't want to do too much. This is what really draws the eye. So if you do too much of your highlights, then there's no contrast left. You know, nothing to kind of draw the eye in. It's all just a big yellow pink blob. So just be sparing with your highlights. These ones here, I'm making them spiky, but actually the ones in the middle there are not. Go back in with some of that darker magenta there. Break that up. It's only spiky along the top. The middle part is facing us, so it's pretty much just dots right here in the middle. And then at the top, there's some little spikes coming up. I can get some of that ultramarine blue. Just kind of glaze over some of these flowers and really bring out that blue over the top of that highlight. And be careful of your grass because you don't want to go over the grass. So poor Mark, he's yawning. We've already lost all of our European crew, haven't we? They're long gone to bed. Alrighty. Maybe a little bit of white on this. I'm just gonna dab just a few with the bright white that's tinged with blue. Just a few of them. I'm going to get the bright yellow here that's got a little bit of the green in it. Maybe a tiny bit of white. Press that flat and do the tops of these. There's bright yellow. Stupid. Wow, sorry. Sorry, myself. Talking to myself. That's too big. No, it's too big. So, I'm probably getting tired too if I'm talking to myself. Probably time to stop. All right. That was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. All that good stuff. I'm going to sign it here. Ooh, get a super chat. I'm going to use some of this bright green in here just to add it to my grasses. Since
I mean, I might as well just keep on painting while you're doing that over there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. So tonight's super chat came from Laura. And she said, what did she say? She said, thank you, as always, for keeping our lives brighter. Oh. Thank you, Laura.
Very sweet. Thank you very much. You'll keep our lives brighter too, that's for sure. It's me.
For sure. It keeps the lights on.
I would be I'd be doing this one way or another, but it sure is a lot more fun to do it with you guys. So, all right. We'll sign it and we'll let Mark go to bed.
So remind everybody that down below the video is the description, all the supplies used, links to different things to buy stuff, social media.
Yes, all that good stuff. So yeah, if you paint it, you can share it with me on my social media. I'd love to see it. Your version. It's always fun to see what other people do with these. So, all right, guys, have a great evening, and we will see you Saturday for coffee cup with some leaves. I think it'll be fun. Hope you join us. See you next time. Bye.